Hello everyone, this is Kutsuo Academia.
Today, we're diving into something straight out of science fiction. It's a story about a parasite that seems to literally hack the brains of its hosts. And our story starts with a really strange observation, one involving a rat and its number one enemy, the cat.
Okay, so let's break this down. Normally, a rat is hardwired to be terrified of cats. Its survival instinct just screams, "Get out of here," at the slightest smell of a cat. But scientists started noticing something really bizarre. Some rats just weren't running. In fact, they'd completely lost their fear. Some were even drawn to the smell. It's so weird and creepy that researchers gave it a name, fatal attraction.
So you have to ask, right? What on earth could possibly flip a switch on one of the most basic survival instincts in the animal kingdom? I mean, this is totally suicidal behavior. Well, it turns out the problem isn't some glitch in the rat's brain. Nope, it's an invader. So, let's pull back the curtain and meet the puppet master behind all of this. It's a tiny, single-celled organism with a very, very complex plan. The parasite's name is Toxoplasma gondii. This little guy is one of the most successful parasites on the planet. It can infect almost any warm-blooded animal you can think of. But it has one very specific problem. To complete its life cycle, to sexually reproduce, it absolutely has to get inside the gut of a cat.
And this is where its evil genius strategy comes into play. See, it all starts in a cat, where it reproduces and creates these little eggs called oocysts. Those eggs get shed out into the world in the cat's feces. Then, an unsuspecting animal, like a rat, comes along and accidentally ingests them. Inside the rat, the parasite travels to the brain, where it forms these little dormant cysts. So, how does it get back to a cat to complete the cycle? Simple. It makes the rat an easy meal.
This whole thing, it isn't random. It's a calculated survival strategy for the parasite. Turning the rat into a walking delivery service is the key to its survival. But the big question is, how does a tiny organism pull off such a sophisticated brain heist? Well, scientists have uncovered a few of its tricks. Okay, trick number one. It hacks the host's hormones. In male rats, this parasite gets extra sneaky. It doesn't just go for the brain. It can also make its way into the testes. And once it's there, it actually cranks up the production of testosterone, a hormone that's known to make animals less fearful and more bold.
Trick number two is that it messes with brain chemistry directly, and this is just wild. The parasite's own DNA has genes that can actually increase dopamine levels in the host's brain. And as you probably know, dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. It's all about pleasure, motivation, and taking risks. So T. gondii is basically hot-wiring the rat's brain to be a reckless thrill seeker.
And for its third trick, the parasite actually uses the rat's own body against itself. I mean, think about it. If you have parasite cysts just sitting in your brain, your immune system's going to notice. It's going to attack, creating this constant low-level inflammation. Researchers believe this neuroinflammation alone can disrupt normal brain function and contribute to all these behavioral changes.
So this is all fascinating stuff about rats and cats, but this is where the story takes a sharp turn, and honestly, it gets a little unsettling. Because this parasite doesn't just infect rodents, it infects us too.
Yeah, look at that number. That's the estimate for how much of the entire world's population is infected with Toxoplasma gondii. Now, for most of us with a healthy immune system, the infection is what's called latent. It's basically dormant, and you'd never know you have it. But that means a huge number of us could be carrying this parasite right now without a clue.
Now, let's be clear, it's not going to make you fatally attracted to cats. But a whole lot of research is starting to suggest it might be subtly influencing our behavior. Studies have found some really strange correlations. People with the dormant infection have been linked to things like increased risk-taking, which might help explain why they're also linked to higher rates of traffic accidents or even being more likely to become entrepreneurs. And on a more serious note, there are also associations with a higher risk for some psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.
But for everything we've discovered, this biological mystery is far from being solved. In fact, researchers are still trying to answer some absolutely massive questions. For example, we assume this all makes rats easier prey, but do we know for sure that it increases the number of infected rats eaten by cats out in the wild? Not really, and we still don't know the exact molecular tools the parasite uses to pull all these strings. And hey, what about female hosts? The whole testosterone thing doesn't really apply, so how is the parasite manipulating their behavior? These are huge gaps in our understanding.
Scientists are still digging into this, trying to understand the full extent of the parasite's influence. And all of it leaves us with a truly mind-bending question. If so many of us are carrying this silent passenger in our brains, how much of our behavior, our personality, is truly our own? Could our decisions, and maybe even our cultures, be subtly shaped by an invisible biological force? It's a fascinating thought that really blurs the line between who we think we are and what our biology makes us. Kutsu Academia, please subscribe and like.